They didn't know it, but they invited the devil into their home. Welcome to Sandy's Timeline. Today we're breaking down Sinner, a movie that'll make you question every knock at the door. The movie opens in 1932. A young man stumbles into a church, bruised, bloodied, and with what looks like a claw mark on his cheek. He's visibly traumatized. The local pastor, a stern man who urges the young man to abandon his sinful love for the blues. Then, we're taken back to the day before when it all started. We're introduced to Smoke and Stack Moore, identical twins returning to Clarksdale, Mississippi after years working with the Chicago outfit. Armed with stolen mob money, they buy a rundown sawmill from a racist landowner named Hogwood. Their plan? To turn it into a juke joint, a safe haven for the Black community to gather, dance, and reclaim joy. But what they unleash is anything but joyful. The twins pick up their cousin Sammy, a young, aspiring guitarist, who decides to join them, despite warnings from his strict father, Pastor Jedediah, who believes blues music is rooted in the supernatural. From there, the team splits up into two. Sammy and Stack head to the train station to recruit a legendary pianist known as Delta Slim to play at the juke joint with a promise of good pay and a life term of liquor supply. He agrees. On the way, Stack has an unexpected run-in with his white-passing ex-girlfriend Mary, who's still bitter that he left her, a choice he made to protect her from the dangers of being seen with a black man in the South. Meanwhile, Smoke hits the town. He hires a local Chinese shopkeeping couple, Grace and Bo Chow, to handle supplies. He also reconnects with his estranged wife, Annie, who agrees to be the cook. Annie practices Hoodoo and believes her magic has kept the twins alive all these years. But Smoke resents her faith, still haunted by the loss of their infant daughter. Finally, the crew brings in a tough field worker named Cornbread to work as their bouncer. And just like that, the pieces of the juke joint and the story start to fall into place. Somewhere else, we meet a man who's badly bruised and clearly on the run. Desperate and terrified, he begs a married couple, both Klansmen, to let him into their home. Reluctantly, they do. But just minutes later, a group of Choctaw vampire hunters shows up at their doorstep. They warn the wife to be cautious, that the man she let in isn't what he seems. But with the sun setting fast, the hunters are forced to leave. When the wife returns inside, she finds her husband lying in a pool of blood, and he turns them both into creatures of the night. On the joint's opening night, Sammy, Delta Slim, and Pearline, a singer with whom Sammy becomes enamored, perform on stage. Sammy's music is transcendent, unknowingly summoning spirits of both past and future to join the crowd. However, the performance also attracts Remick and his vampire thralls, who offer money and music in exchange for entry. Smoke, suspicious, refuses. The twins realize that their patron's reliance on company script makes it impossible for the joint to be profitable. Reasoning with Stack that the outside income is necessary, Mary meets Remick outside, where she is turned. Returning inside, she seduces and kills Stack by drinking his blood. Sammy and Smoke discover them. Smoke shoots Mary, but she is unaffected and escapes. Outside, Remick turns Cornbread. Smoke closes the joint early. As the patrons and Bo leave, the vampires turn them. Stack revives as a vampire, but flees after Annie repels him with pickled garlic juice. Annie realizes their assailants are vampires and tells the survivors how to deter and defeat them, and that killing Remick will not revert his thralls back to humans. Although Remick shares his thralls' memories, their personalities remain intact. Still unable to enter the joint, Remick promises to leave in exchange for Sammy, whose musical skills he wants to use to summon the spirits of his lost community. He reveals that Hogwood heads the local clan and plans to attack the joint at dawn, and then invites the survivors to join him as his thralls, saying that vampirism offers immortality and freedom from persecution. They refuse, and Remick threatens to attack the Chow's daughter Lisa at their home. Enraged by the threat, Grace invites the vampires into the joint and a fight ensues. Grace, Bo, Annie, and Delta Slim are killed as a result, while Mary escapes and Pearline is turned by Remick. Smoke fights and defeats Stack, and then assists Sammy in defeating Remick and his thralls, who are all incinerated by the light of the sunrise. Smoke sends Sammy home before he kills Hogwood and his men, but is fatally shot. He sees the spirits of Annie and their daughter as he dies. Meanwhile, despite his father's pleas to seek salvation, Sammy travels to Chicago and becomes a successful blues musician. 60 years later, an elderly Sammy is visited by an ageless Stack and Mary after performing at his blues club. Stack reveals that Smoke spared him at the joint on the condition that Sammy would live in peace. After declining the couple's offer of immortality, Sammy performs for them. As they leave, Sammy admits that despite being haunted by that fateful night, until the violence, it was the greatest day of his life. Stack agrees, since it was the last time he saw smoke or the sun, and the only time he ever truly felt free. Be mindful of who you let into your home. You never know when you might be inviting in the devil. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next recap. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sandy's Timeline.